Welcome, everybody, to Bible Bites. I'm Pastor Dan, and we are reading through the Bible one small bite at a time. We're in Matthew 26, where Matthew's recording for us some of the events leading up to Jesus' crucifixion. So let's hop right into verse 36. Then Jesus went with them to a place called Gethsemane and said to his disciples, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." This garden, Gethsemane, was a place probably pretty well known to Jesus and his disciples. But at this time in the evening, it would have been an isolated place where Jesus could go and pray and be with his disciples without others really around. And taking with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch with me." So Jesus takes Peter, James, and John, who are the sons of Zebedee. They go a little bit further yet, and Jesus asks them to pray with him and to just watch, kind of stand watch. Jesus tells them, "I'm troubled and I'm sorrowful." And this is because Jesus knows what he's about to go through, the physical anguish, but also the mental anguish. He's going to be betrayed by his friends, and he's going to feel alone. Everybody's going to scatter from him. So, a lot going on here. Verse 39. And going a little further, he fell on his face and prayed, saying, "My Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." Jesus asks the Father, if there's any way that I don't have to go through this, if we can do something different, let it be so. But if this is your will, then I'm going to submit to that. Your will is best. And he came to the disciples and found them sleeping and said to Peter, "Couldn't you watch with me just 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. Spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." So this might tell us that Jesus was praying for, nearly an hour, or that's just a general estimate of a period of time. But when after praying for that period of time, Jesus finds that the disciples, or at least Peter here, is sleepy. They had just come from that meal right in the upper room, and it's evening, and Peter's having trouble staying awake. And Jesus asked him, "Couldn't you like stay awake with me?" And Jesus tells him that this is a time of temptation for you too, and a time of trial for you too. They don't see it. I think is they don't see it nearly as clearly as Jesus does. But Jesus knows what's coming and tells them it's going to be hard for you as well. Again, for the second time, he went away and prayed, "My Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, your will be done." And of course, we know that Jesus is the sacrifice, the perfect sacrifice for us. So he did have to be sacrificed. He had to go through this shedding of his blood and his body being broken on our behalf. And again, he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were heavy. So leaving them again, he went and prayed for the third time, saying the same words again. Jesus isn't finding any comfort through his disciples. His only comfort and solace is in praying and communicating with his Father. Then he came to the disciples and said to them, "Sleep and take your rest later on. See, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." As Jesus is praying, I think the Father lets him know now's the time. It's now. So Jesus tells the disciples, "Okay, it's all coming together. Let's go." While he was still speaking, Judas came, one of the 12, and with him a great crowd with swords and clubs from the chief priests and the elders of the people. So we see who sends this mob. And it's a mob, right? They're not arresting Jesus legally. It's a lot of treachery going on. This is underhanded. They don't want to do it. They want to do it behind the scenes, so the people don't really know about it. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, the betrayer being Judas, saying, "The one I kiss is the man, seize him." Judas is trying to identify who Jesus is. Now, some of them may have known Jesus, right? If they saw him, they would know, hey, this is Jesus of Nazareth. This is the one we're arresting. But many of them maybe only have seen Jesus from a distance, really have not seen him at all, perhaps. But Judas identifies him with a kiss, which is common. To us, that'd be like going up and shaking a person's hand. It was a greeting. And he came up to Jesus at once and said, "Greetings, Rabbi." It is "Greetings, teacher." It's a label of respect. And he kissed him. Jesus said to him, "Friend, do what you came to do." So Judas is trying to act as though he's not doing anything wrong, or trying not to let on that he's betraying Jesus, but Jesus knows. Then he came up and laid hands on Jesus and seized him. Behold, one of those who were with Jesus stretched out his hands and drew his sword and struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his ear. Well, Peter suddenly woke up. I think another gospel identifies this as Peter did this. Peter's adrenaline is flowing now, and Jesus tells him, "Hey, we can't do this. Put away the sword." And he gives him a couple reasons. He says, "For all who take the sword will perish by the sword." In other words, the kingdom of God isn't fulfilled through fighting a physical battle. "Do you think that I cannot appeal to my Father, and he will at once send me more than 12 legions of angels?" Jesus does not need his disciples to protect him. But how then should the scriptures be fulfilled? That it must be so. And yet this is another reason Jesus is saying to try to fight this battle physically is really just trying to resist what the scriptures have already prophesied is going to take place. At that hour, Jesus said to the crowds, "Have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs to capture me? Day after day I sat in the temple teaching, you did not seize me, but all this has taken place that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled." Then all the disciples left him and they fled. Jesus keeps pointing to the scriptures, and he wants even the crowds to see this is God's design. And if you were to really understand and read the scriptures, you would see that this is God's design. I've been in your midst this whole time. You've never seized me. You never come against me in this way. And I think Jesus is saying that to them to get them to understand the betrayal, the treachery behind their actions. All right. With that in mind, let's stop there. Next week, we will begin in verse 57. Until then, be blessed.